All right, good morning everyone. Thank you for your patience. Are you ready to see the world famous San Diego Zoo? All right, I love the enthusiasm. Well, welcome. My name is Bridget. I'm going to be your bus driver / tour guide for the next 35 to 40 minutes. We're going to make our way around the zoo and talk about how we're leading the way in animal welfare, habitat conservation, and veterinary research. Lots of fun topics to cover and amazing animals to see today. Now, I've been coming to the San Diego Zoo since I was a little kid, so I'm always very excited to share it with our guests. Do we have any first-timers on the bus? First time to the zoo? Wow, a lot of you upstairs as well. Well, welcome. We're very happy to have you. We're going to start off across Front Street, and it should look a little familiar. This is where you came in today. And we do already have our first animal on the right, as well as a couple different trails, like the Lost Forest Trail, Hippo Trail, Tiger Trail, Monkey Trail. All the trails you can think of start over here. Those flamingos are Caribbean flamingos. They're the largest and most colorful species in the world. And it's an exciting time for many of our animals. Late spring, early summer, a lot of animals are going to start nesting and having babies. So the flamingos are going to start building their nests, and they actually build their nests out of mud, which is pretty impressive. Straight ahead of us, you can see that exit sign with the giant macaw over it. That's where you're going to make your way out today, but just past that is the Discovery Outpost. That's where you'll find our children's zoo, the reptile house, as well as one of the entrances to that Skyfari tram. And you can see the Skyfari is going to be going over the zoo, and we'll show you, I'll show you where that ends up on the other side. A couple of safety things. Please keep your arms, legs, personal belongings, and your loved ones inside the bus at all times. As you can see, we're going to be getting close to some trees, possibly some other vehicles, so we just want to make sure that everyone is safe today. Along those lines as well, if you'd like to stand up and take photos during the tour, that's okay with me, as long as you keep a firm grip on one of those handrails and your feet flat on the floor. Alright, the San Diego Zoo is home to hundreds of different plant and animal species, many of them rare and endangered. And while lots of you came to see our amazing animals today, I like to always remind guests to stop and look around at the plants as well. So we are actually one of the largest accredited botanical gardens in the United States. So a lot of the plants that you're seeing are also rare and endangered species themselves. This is one of my favorite views. It's like our own little tropical rainforest. That's because many of these plants are native to southeastern Asian rainforests. And that's going to go along well with our first exhibit here on the right. We're going to take a look and see if I can spot any Malayan tigers. Let's take a look. Let's see here. Typically they like to hang out in the top right, so I'm going to go slowly and take a look up that way. Looking out for a Malayan tiger. Oh, looks like you might be walking into a little bit of a view. It's very, very tight. He's in the top right corner, and he's kind of just walking in and out. So as I go slowly on down, if you're towards the middle or the back, just look towards the top right. And there's just like a little view of him poking out there in the top right corner. And you know why tigers have stripes, right? Because they hate being spotted. Alright, okay. I see how it's going to be. If you don't like my jokes, that's okay. You're going to get them anyways. We'll keep moving forward though, because we do have some better views up ahead. We're going to be moving out of the Asian rainforest and into our African rainforest in just a moment. The Malayan tigers are an endangered species, as well as Sumatran tigers, but the San Diego Zoo is a non-profit. And what that means is that ticket sales, food and drink, souvenirs are all going to go back into helping out these endangered species. We actually have over 140 different projects going right now in countries all over the world. And one of those programs is for this river hippo here to the right. This water exhibit does house the African river hippo. And the reason we have such a big water exhibit is because they spend about 16 hours a day submerged in water. So they are going to be spending majority of their time underneath there. Reason for that being is that hippos have pretty delicate skin. So by staying underwater, they help protect themselves from the harmful UV rays. And they can get sunburned pretty easily. Now, I'll go slowly here. If you look straight through the glass here to the right, just on top of the water, you can see a little bit of the hippo's back poking out of the water. And to me, it's hard to tell if it's a boulder or a hippo, but I'll tell you right there, that is a hippo. And the reason they're pretty easy to get mixed up is our male hippos are about 4,000 pounds. 4,000 pounds, so incredibly large animals. And then we do have a baby hippo as well. He was born last year, so he's a male, and when he grows to be fully formed, again, he'll be about 4,000 pounds. The river hippos are the second most deadly animal in Africa. Does anyone know what the first is? This isn't a bad joke. This is a real question. It's actually the mosquito. Yeah, so the mosquito is responsible for more human deaths than any other animal in Africa. Alright, so a little bit of a hippo poking out of the water there. To the right of us now we can see some really tall grass. That's right, bamboo is the largest species of grass in the world. Does anyone know what animal likes to eat bamboo?
Pandas.
Pandas, of course. And we actually grow a lot of the food we give to our animals here. So we'll point out a couple different places that we're growing food. And some of that bamboo will be making its way to our pandas' paws. Now I'm going to stop right here. We do have our first baby sighting of the day. And I'll stop and see if it gives a little bit of a better view. But this is one of my favorite exhibits in the zoo. This is our river island habitat. And you can see there's a monkey jumping around there just on the very right post towards the right of the exhibit. And the little baby one is down around there as well. Oh, there it is. Gonna jump up on that rope there. Oh, we have two babies now. Oh, that's exciting. Yeah, so the ones that you're seeing with the white nose, so the baby that's jumping on the log right there, they have white noses and red tails. Those are spot-nosed guenons or red-tailed monkeys. Red-tailed monkeys. Now the other animals, the brown one, if you're seeing ones that are all brown with no white spots or red tails, those are Allen's swamp monkeys. So this is one of my favorite exhibits because it's one of our many mixed species habitats. So you can see the spot-nosed guenons and then Allen's swamp monkeys. There's actually a third species of animal in here as well, and that would be the spot-necked river otter. So there are otters down in the water, and that's really, really cool because a lot of times people are wondering, well, monkeys and otters, and that is actually a pairing that you would find in the wild as well. So of course we know that animals are going to be interacting with other species in the wild, so we try to recreate that here as well. And that's important because that baby is going to be able to grow up learning how to interact with those other animals, which is how it would go down in the wild as well. So it's really important social growth for these animals. So again, one of our many mixed species habitats. Look at the baby, oh, it's going to crawl down the rope. I'll stay here for just a second. I could watch the little baby monkeys all day, so. Oh yeah. So that's very exciting. I'll point out a couple different places where we have babies throughout the day. That way as you're making your way around, maybe you want to go back to those areas. As I said, springtime, summertime, it's really exciting for lots of our animals. I'm going to be turning left in just a moment, but if you take a look to the right, that walkway does connect to the giant pandas. There is also an entrance to the Asian leopards exhibit where we have some of the rarest leopards in the world, as well as our red pandas. So there's some red pandas in there. If you take a look to the left now, we're going to see our African marsh habitat. It looks like one of our keepers is out actually giving some food. So those small blackbirds that are on top of the nest right there, those are black cormorants. And if you see, there's a large white bird as well. The large white bird is an African pelican, which is the largest species of pelican in the world. And if you look up in the tree, you can see a grayish blue bird. That's a blue heron. The blue herons are actually native to San Diego, parts of Southern California. They do love the coastlines. So they're not part of the zoo, they just like to hang out here. As well as the ducks. So the ducks are not part of the zoo as well. Of course, if you came to see ducks today, we do have plenty. They're not part of the zoo, they just like to hang out and take our free food. But we love having them around. You might have seen that yellow kangaroo bus sign to the left of us. Now, I'll point out the yellow signs as we make our way around the zoo. What the kangaroo bus is a hop-on, hop-off bus that you can use throughout the day. And the buses look just like this, but it's a little bit of an easier way to get around if your feet are getting tired, or as you can tell, it's going to be a warm one today as well. So as we head up this hill, if you take a look to the left, just up on that hill past the trees is where our on-site veterinary hospital is located. We were one of the first zoos to have an on-site hospital built here in the U.S. And it was actually built in the 1920s, so very, very long time ago. But the work that they've done there has been really revolutionary in veterinary science. In fact, the standards created there are now gold standards requirements for all veterinary facilities around the world. And we actually have been so successful, we opened another hospital at our Safari Park location. If you've never been to the Safari Park, it's about 35 miles north of that freeway. It's 20 times larger than the zoo, with about half the land dedicated to conservation of local species. And we even had a gorilla born via C-section there. So really cutting edge work And the gorilla, she just celebrated her 4th birthday. Her name is Joanne, so she's doing really well. Another mixed species habitat on the right, there's some Sphinx gazelles and some lesser known kudus. Those are a couple different African antelope species. But we're going to be pulling up to the left in just a moment, and we're going to take a look and see if any of our polar bear friends are out to say hello. So we do got a view, and I will stop the bus in just a moment, so hang tight. I'll be pulling over so you can take some photos and take a good look. So to the left there, I can see 2 of our polar bears. Perhaps there's all 3 out, but I can see 2 right now. We do have 3 polar bears here, a brother and sister duo along with another female. So 2 females and a male. The females are Taktik and Chinook. The male is Kaluk. Now you might be wondering, how do you have polar bears here in San Diego? Well, our keepers maintain special diets for the polar bears. Instead of eating more fatty and blubbery foods, they're going to eat a lot of fiber-rich things like carrots and lettuce, and that keeps their coat a little bit thinner, a little more cool and comfortable in this San Diego weather. And don't be fooled though, you might think that water is freezing cold. It's actually kept around 55 degrees or so. If it gets much colder than that, the polar bears refuse to get in. They are officially spoiled San Diegans here. Beautiful animals. And you're probably also well aware that they are an endangered species. Polar bears are losing a lot of their habitat to polar ice melting in the Arctic, and in particular due to global warming, the overall climate change trends. And there's different things we can do to help out our beautiful polar bear friends. By reducing our carbon footprint, we can help out quite a lot. And that might sound scary or difficult, but it can really be as easy as taking a shorter shower, recycling, lots of little things we can do that will make a big difference for these animals. Now I'm going to keep moving up the hill. Pretty awesome. We got to see our polar bears taking a little snooze there. They're definitely enjoying this warmer weather. Like I said, they are spoiled San Diegans now. We do have some friends up ahead to say hello to. We're actually going to be taking a look at some of my favorite animals in just a moment. Coming up on the right, we're going to have 4 different exhibits. This first one on the right are the Bontebaks. And then this second exhibit, I'm going to be looking out. These are one of my favorite animals here. And I can see the male is sitting down on the ground towards the tree in the back. Oh, I can see the whole family now. So there's 3 of them. There's the mom, the dad, and the little baby that was born last year. Those are the southern Garanuks. Southern Garanuks. Now you see their long, skinny necks. The word Garanuk actually means giraffe neck in Somali. And when they stand on their hind legs, they can reach branches up to about 7 feet tall. So really impressive reach for such a small animal. This next exhibit houses the yellowback dikers. You can see one of them close to us right now. And you can see in the back cave, maybe a little bit better view, they have a yellow stripe across their back. And that's where they're going to get that name, the yellowback diker. This last exhibit to the right houses the Chicoan peccaries. Now they look like a little bit like warthogs, but they're actually entirely their own species. And they were actually thought to be extinct until about 1972 when they were rediscovered in Paraguay. Unfortunately, they are still found on the endangered species list, often hunted and sold into the bushmeat trade of South America. Now we're over here at the top by our Skyfari, which is just to the left of us right now. That'll start going about 10 a.m. And we're going to be coming up to our Elephant Odyssey in just a moment, as well as one of the other kangaroo bus stops. So I mentioned that kangaroo bus. We're going to see another one of those stops in just a moment. To the right of us now, though, is one of our 2 4D theaters. This one's playing Ice Age, No Time for Nuts. It's about a 15-minute show in a nice, cool, air-conditioned room. So that's a great place to take a break later on if you need to do that. Now I'm coming up by the kangaroo bus stop right now. I'm going to we have some cars behind us, I'm going to let them go. So that way we can spend our time with the amazing animals that are coming up ahead, because we are pulling up now to our Elephant Odyssey. So we're going to be heading into Elephant Odyssey in just a moment. And this is a really interesting exhibit because many of the animals in here are meant to represent species that lived in Southern California during prehistoric times. So we're going to talk a little bit about their stories and see what they're up to today. So again, I can see that yellow sign to the left, that kangaroo sign. Now all those stops are marked on your map, so if you'd like to see where those stops, we'll see them on the tour, but if later on you want to see where you can catch a kangaroo bus, they're all marked on your map by a yellow kangaroo. Alright, so again, heading into Elephant Odyssey. We're going to take a look at our first animal. They're going to be on our left, and it's a smaller species, so you're going to have to keep your eyes peeled. I see one of them kind of snoozing up against this exhibit. These are the rock hyraxes, and I'll go slowly up so we can take a look at them. Now, does anyone know who the rock hyrax might be related to? Actually, closely related to elephants and manatees. Yeah, so they have very similar face structures, the skull structures, as well as tooth formations. Yeah. To the right of us, we can get a view of the African lions. So yes, many exciting animals in the Elephant Odyssey here. Up on that pedestal, that's our female lion. Her name is Etosha. Etosha. And I'll pull up a little bit. We can see Umbari as well. Umbari is hanging out on the floor right here. He's taking a little snooze.
No, he's really a cat.
So again, our male is Etosha. Or excuse me, our female Etosha, male is Umbari. Umbari. Now, do any of you have cats at home? What do cats like to do? Sleep, that's right. These big cats are not very different. In fact, they sleep about 18 hours a day or so. Really, really impressive sleepers. Big cat predators do a lot of their hunting during the afternoon and nighttime hours. So they're going to spend a majority of their daytime sleeping to help conserve their energy for the hunting later on. So again, that's why they're such heavy sleepers, about 18 to 20 hours a day. And when they do go hunting, the females are going to be doing most of the work. They are the breadwinners of the pride. Don't be fooled though, Umbari is very ferocious. If he were to roar right now, you'd be able to hear it all the way out at the parking lot where you came in. Really incredible roar from Umbari. As we continue forward, we're going to take a look at some South American species in just a moment. Keep your eyes out on the right. Now again, I said springtime is really exciting for a lot of our animals. I'm going to go slowly. If you can take a look towards the right, in that corner you see a large brown animal with that long snout. That's a tapir. So in that right corner to the right of us. Now that tapir is actually pregnant. So that's why she's hanging out back there. She's spending some time just chilling out, not being bothered by anyone else. She needs all the me time that she can get right now. So again, very exciting that our tapir is pregnant right now. Another South American species here to the right. We have some guanacos as well as a llama. So if you see the white one with the brown spots, that's the only llama in this exhibit. The rest of them that have all that light brown fur, those are all guanacos. And a guanaco is actually like an ancestor of the llama. So they're an undomesticated version of that species. And this is part of Elephant Odyssey here. I can see our keepers were just out flattening and moving the ground around for the elephants. So that's going to tell me that they're not out right here. But don't worry, because Elephant Odyssey is about 4 acres and it does continue around the corner. So we're going to get a chance to say hello to some of our other friends up ahead. This big building to the right is our Elephant Care Center. This is where elephants get a lot of top-notch health care. They get health checkups, weekly pedicures, anything they might need to stay happy and healthy is going to happen over here. And while we have this big facility for our elephants, we do have animal welfare programs in place for even the smallest little salamander, turtle. Every little animal has a welfare program. Now I'm going to keep quiet just in case our keepers are doing some work up ahead. Alright, looks like I'm good to be on the microphone. And before we continue talking about Elephant Odyssey, oh, looks like I see someone hanging out in here to the right. And I can tell you in just a second who that is. And that's Debbie. So Debbie's in the little holding center right there. And she could be just waiting for a treat, or maybe she needs to get a health checkup. That's where she's going to be, just waiting for a moment until the keepers come out. But we're going to talk about one of my favorite animals before we move up ahead and talk about some of our other elephants. Take a look to the right. She's walking around down on the ground right now, just to the right, back towards the very right of the exhibit as well. So she's a very large bird, and she has those long crown feathers behind her head and also those orange and yellow markings around her eyes. So she's walking in the bottom right corner right now. And that's Stella, the secretary bird. She's one of my favorite animals here as well. And you can see she's very beautiful, but she's one of my favorites because she's also quite deadly as well. You can see she has those long legs, and she uses those long legs to run through the African midlands. And she's so fast, she can even catch snakes. And when she catches the snakes, she actually stomps them to death. So yes, that is how she hunts her prey. She stomps them with her long legs, and she's actually the only species of bird in the world that hunts this way. So she's very unique. If you're seeing the smaller black, white, and blue bird as well, that's a magpie. It's a common magpie, so they're found here in North America, and his name is Rico. So Rico and Stella are roommates, and Rico is a very, very smart bird. Magpies have actually been known to mimic, just like parrots, so they can mimic words. So as you go by, Rico might even say hello to you. And as I mentioned, Elephant Odyssey did continue up ahead, so we're going to take a look at another one of our elephant friends. We're going to get our first great view of the elephants. And this is Mary. So take a look to the right just here, and I'll pull up so you can get a good view of her face. You can take some good photos. So there's Mary, just to the right, and I'll go slowly forward if that little thing is blocking her. Mary is our oldest elephant. She's about 55 years old, about 55, and she's doing really well. We have 4 elephants here. They're all female, and they're all rescued as well. So we have 2 African and 2 Asian elephants. Does anyone know how we can tell the difference between the African and Asian elephants? Ears, that's right. That is one of the easiest ways to tell, and we can see Mary has some small ears here, and the small ears are going to tell me she's one of our Asian elephants. And now she's on the move, so I'm going to move up ahead as well. You can see she's still moving pretty quick. She's doing really well. All the other elephants will listen to Mary. She's the matriarch. It's not just humans that are told to respect our elders. Elephants do follow that rule as well. And you can see she's standing under a structure we call a utilitary. And she's probably going to grab that chain right there, and she's going to yank it back and forth. And what that does is deposits fresh hay and fresh treats. And that's one of the many ways that we can keep the animals active and physically and mentally active in their environments here. By yanking that chain back and forth, she's keeping her muscles strong, her trunk muscles strong. And also it's like doing a little puzzle to get a trait there. So she's going to get some fresh hay out of there. Their trunks are really important tools for the elephants. They use them to drink water, to eat, to bathe themselves. In fact, their trunks have about as many muscles in them as we do in our entire body. So very, very impressive animals. Elephants are endangered species, of course. They're losing a lot of their numbers to poaching. One thing I was surprised to learn is that the U.S. is still one of the #1 consumers of that ivory trade. So just by being conscious of what we purchase and discouraging any ivory being sold is really going to help out those animals quite a lot. To the right of us are the dromedary one-hump camels. You might be able to see their humps poking out of the rocks there. Does anyone know what the camels keep in their hump?
Water?
It's actually fat. Yeah, I always thought it was water too, but it's actually a fatty hump. And they store a lot of extra energy in that fat. So we do know that they can go very long distances without needing much food or water. So they store extra energy in there for their journeys. We talked a little bit about why elephants are endangered, but probably one of our most famous conservation story is coming up on the right. So take a look on the tree there. Those are the California condors. California condors, yes. So in the 1980s, there were only about 22 California condors left. That's it, about 22. Their numbers had dropped quite drastically due to hunting. Now when I say hunting, the birds themselves were not being hunted. The hunters were going out into these areas, hunting for fun, and leaving behind the bodies of these animals. And when they did that, we know the condors they're going to eat the leftovers, right? They're scavengers. And when they did, they were actually consuming the lead bullets as well. So they were contracting lead poisoning, and their numbers did decline all the way down to about 22. 22. Now, it's not all a sad story. While this is all true, of course, because of this, we helped create the California Condor Recovery Program. And this is a breeding-based program because, of course, we know we bring numbers back up by having more babies, hatching more chicks, and we're happy to say the program has been a success. So far, their current numbers are up at about 480. So from 22 to almost 500, quite an impressive jump. And we're going to continue that program even further. We're happy to say that about half of those birds have been re-released into the wild. So very, very exciting time for those California condors there. As we continue forward, we're going to talk a little bit about some African species in just a moment. You saw that there's another kangaroo bus stop there. And again, that'll take you into the elephants as well as the African lions and the California condors. Coming up on our right is going to be a smaller little species, so you're going to have to keep your eyes peeled. I'm looking for an African meerkat. And I see one of them hanging out on this log right here, standing straight up, and also in the far left corner as well. So look out for these meerkats. They're usually standing on their hind legs because they're looking out for high-flying birds, snakes. They're looking for any predators that are going to make their way into their exhibit. They want to make sure they can keep the rest of their group safe. While they're cute and cuddly, they're definitely ferocious in their own ways. Meerkats have actually been known to even hunt scorpions. Yeah, so they can catch scorpions. Incredible hunters. In fact, a group of meerkats is actually called a mob. A mob. Yeah, so you definitely don't want to mess with them. We'll talk about some more African species in just a moment. As I mentioned, though, we do grow a lot of the food we give to our animals. One of our many fruit gardens is coming up on our left-hand side. If you take a look to the left, you can see some long green leaves as well. And does anyone know what fruit is growing on those trees?
Bananas.
Bananas, of course. And what animals like bananas?
Monkeys.
Monkeys, birds, elephants, humans. Lots of different species enjoy those bananas. We're getting a first look at Africa Rocks here to the right. If you haven't already walked through Africa Rocks before, don't worry, you have plenty of time to do it today. This is the largest expansion in the zoo's history. And again, we are a non-profit, so we're not able to have expansions like this without the help of guests and donors such as yourselves. So we'd like to thank you again for that. And we're actually going to dip down into Africa Rocks as well in just a few minutes. So hang tight. We'll talk a little bit about the animals hanging out in there. And I do also like to remind people, again, like I said, we are a botanical garden as well. So you can see a lot of these plants also look very exotic, look like maybe something you've never seen before. So as you walk through there, take a look at the different plaques and see where these plants are from. They're from all over Africa, different regions. And you'll be able to learn their names and where you can find them. Really, really interesting plants in there as well. And these are koalas to the right of us. And don't worry, once we go through Africa Rocks, we're actually going to go and talk about our koalas as well. We'll be coming up, getting a little bit of a behind view of the koalas. Now I'm turning left here, but if you take a look to the right, you can see our urban jungle is in there. Inside the urban jungle, you can find the giraffes, cheetahs, koalas. There's another zebra hanging out in there. And also kangaroo bus stop number 1. But it's our turn to head down into Center Street now. Before we talk about some of the animals of Center Street, I'm going to point out one more plant. And I do promise it will be the last one. To the left of us right now, you can see they look like tiny palm trees or maybe the tops of pineapples. Those are cycads. And cycads, I like to point them out because they're one of our largest collections of plants here at the zoo. They're also some of the oldest plants as well. So cycads have been around even since dinosaurs. So they were around when dinosaurs were here, a very prehistoric species of plant. And those ones are found in Australia, but they can be found on almost every continent. So really, really incredible plants there. Now typically in the first 2 exhibits, you don't have too much luck. So I'm looking in all the little hiding spots. Center Street is often nicknamed Bear Canyon, and that's because we have a couple different bear species hanging out in here. And I do know one of our bear friends is up ahead, so we'll say hello to him. So keep a lookout on the right. We're getting our first bear enjoying his breakfast there. So this is a North American grizzly bear. I'm going to go slowly on down, so those of you in the middle and back can take a look as well. And we have two grizzly bears here. Their names are Scout and Montana. Scout and Montana. And they are brothers. They're brothers, yeah, so the real life brother bears. And we can see he's enjoying his fresh head of lettuce there. So eat your greens so you can be big like a grizzly bear. Yes, so Scout and Montana. Now, if you're from California, you know we have that beautiful brown bear on our state flag, but unfortunately they're no longer found in the California wilderness. They can still be found in parts of Washington, Alaska, other North American territories, but unfortunately no longer here in California. Now many of these larger species have been displaced or are at hunting risks as well. So I just like to remind people that when you're spending time in these wilderness areas, to remember that we're sharing the homes of these animals. It's really going to help out these species quite a lot. So those two exhibits are connected, and then Scout and Montana are hanging out in there together. I'm going to look at a smaller bear species here on our right. It's going to be a little tricky, so I'm going to tell you kind of exactly where she's hanging out. In the very middle of this big elaborate branch structure, this tree house I like to call it, you're going to see an Andean bear. Now she has all black fur, so she's kind of tucked up in the shadows right there in the very middle of the exhibit. And it looks like she's enjoying her fresh pineapple as well. So she's enjoying a little morning snack there. And that's going to be Alba. And this is an Andean bear. So Andean bears are named because they are found in the Andes Mountains of South America. They're actually the only species of bear found in South America. So the only species. They do also have some yellow markings around their eyes. As they go by, you might be able to see them around their face. And they're also sometimes nicknamed spectacle bears because of those markings. They make kind of little yellow circles around their eyes, and they look a little bit like glasses. So you can also call them spectacle bears. They are an endangered species. They are found in South American rainforest regions, very tree-dense regions. So they're losing a lot of their habitat to deforestation in those areas. And we're at the bottom of our lost forest now. So at the Tiger Trail, we were up at the top, now down below here. So the trail to the left of us does connect back to Owens Aviary, our gorillas, as well as our orangutans. And this is one of the oldest parts of the zoo. This year we're celebrating our 102nd anniversary, so 102 years. When you came in today, did you see that awesome lion statue out front?
Yep.
Yeah, it's not hard to miss. Giant lion, that's Rex the lion. It's actually the lion that inspired the San Diego Zoo. In 1916, there was a traveling zoo going through Balboa Park, and Dr. Harry Wegeforth heard the roar of Rex the lion and thought San Diego would be the best place to create a permanent facility, a permanent zoo, and so he did. We've been here ever since, so 1916. And we're happy that we were created because since then we've been able to go through a lot of new changes, not just policy-wise and our missions and goals, but also some construction changes as well. And I'll point out a couple of the new features here that you're going to be able to use. As I mentioned, Africa Rocks is coming up in just a moment. But as I turn right here, take a look to your left, you're going to see that giant bridge. Now that bridge is brand new, it was just finished last summer. The left side of the bridge connects to our gorillas. The right side of the bridge connects over to the lions and the elephants. So that's a brand new bridge that you can use, and there's some really amazing views from up there as well. Now we're heading into Africa Rocks. That underground walkway will take you to an underwater viewing area of our African penguins. But we're going to get an above ground view in just a moment, coming up on the left-hand side. So as we get a little bit higher up this hill, you can take a look to the left. You can see a couple little African penguins sprinkled through those rocks right there. Now you might be wondering, penguins, where's the snow, where's the ice? There are 17 different species of penguins in the world, 4 of which are found in warm climates. So these are some of those warm climate penguins. They're actually found along the rocky beaches of South Africa. So they're feeling perfectly at home here in this beautiful San Diego weather. That waterfall up ahead of us is now the largest waterfall in San Diego. And yes, we cheat a little bit, it is man-made, but it's beautiful nonetheless. You can actually walk all the way underneath the waterfall and get some really cool photos. It's a good place to cool off. As you can tell, it's going to be a really warm day here today. home to many different species. We have about 5 different species of lemurs, some burbot monkeys, gelada monkeys, hamadryas baboons. We do also have dwarf crocodiles as well, and a couple different leopard species. And we do have an all-black leopard. Her name is Mystique, and her exhibit is up here on the left. She's pretty tricky to spot, so she is all black. And I've only seen her a couple times. Her name is Mystique, and that's actually a black panther. So black panthers are not actually panthers at all. They are all black leopards. So we do have one of those here. And as I mentioned, we're going to get a little bit of a look at our koalas once we come up out of Africa Rocks here. So take a look to the right. This is our koala exhibit now. And I can see one of our koalas tucked up on the tree that's towards the front of the bus right now. Take a look, you can see a little koala face right there. We actually have 22 koalas, which is the largest number anywhere outside of Australia. All the ones over here are males. The males each get their own tree. They're pretty territorial, so they need lots of space to feel comfortable in their environments. So it's kind of like just look on each tree, you might be able to spot a koala. Now, does anyone know what koalas like to eat? Eucalyptus, that's right. And it's a slightly toxic plant, but the koalas have adapted to be able to eat it. But it does mean that they're a little bit drowsy. They spend about 22 hours a day sleeping. Very, very heavy sleepers. Our females are up here towards the front of the bus, so these trees up towards the front are all the ladies. So I can see a pretty good view of one of them in this very far left tree. And she's giving us a little bit of her cute face right there. Now, some of our females did just have babies recently, so I think we have about 6 new koala joeys. And I'm calling them joeys because while you may have heard the term koala bears, koalas are not actually bears at all. They are marsupials, and that means they're going to raise their young in a pouch, just like kangaroos or wombats, which are other marsupials, and we're going to call their young joeys, little joeys. Now, does anyone know any other reason why koalas are not bears? Because they don't meet all the qualifications. Alright. As you can see, this looks familiar, and that's because we're coming back around to our urban jungle now. And again, to the right inside there, that's where you can find the giraffes. We do also have a baby giraffe as well, so keep that in mind as you're walking around today. I do also like to point out our red shirt volunteers. So you can see our volunteers wearing their red shirts. You're going to notice them all around the zoo today. And I like to point them out because these are all people who have volunteered their time to come out here, point you in the right direction, answer any questions, show you where your favorite animal is. So we really thank them for all they do for us. One more thing to point out on the left-hand side, you can see this walkway. There's some guests walking right here. That walkway will take you back to the front of the zoo, but if you also notice the glass railway, that is our Tasmanian devil exhibit. I do also like to point that out because we're one of the few zoos in the United States that are allowed to have Tasmanian devils. They're an incredibly rare endangered animal. They're losing a lot of numbers to a rare disease called the devil's facial tumor disease. And so we're very happy to have a few healthy Tasmanian devils here. We're trying to study them, come up with the best possible conservation plan for their species. And if you're interested in learning more about their story or any of the other endangered species that we may have talked about today, you can go to endextinction.org or join our Wildlife Conservancy. But probably one of my favorite things to let guests know is as you make your way around today, take a lot of photos, share them online with your friends and family. Let them know why these animals are endangered and what we can do to help. Because I really believe by spreading the word, it's one of the best ways we can be a hero for wildlife. And you're already being a hero by joining us here today, so I'd like to thank you again for choosing the San Diego Zoo. I'm going to be pulling up here, and I will open up the bottom level first, and then I'm going to head right up top to open up there, so just hang tight and I'll be right with you. Again, I'm going to be getting close to this little gate here, so just keep your arms inside.